The fluorescent lights of the emergency room burned my eyes as I struggled to focus on the doctor's face. My vision had been blurry for weeks, and the constant thirst felt like I was wandering through a desert with no water in sight. At 28 years old, I thought maybe I was just stressed from my job at the accounting firm, pushing myself too hard, sleeping too little. But when I collapsed at work that Tuesday morning, my colleagues didn't hesitate to call an ambulance. Dr. Richardson sat across from me in the small consultation room, her expression grave as she reviewed my chart. The nameplate on her white coat gleamed under the harsh lighting. She was a woman in her 50s, with kind eyes that seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 difficult conversations. "Your blood sugar is over 600, she said quietly. "That's dangerously high. We need to run more tests, but I'm almost certain you have type 1 diabetes." I stared at her, the words not quite landing. Diabetes? That couldn't be right. I'd never had any problems before. Sure, I'd been tired lately, losing weight without trying, but I figured that was just my body finally cooperating with my half-hearted attempts at fitness. "This doesn't just develop overnight," Dr. Richardson continued, typing something into her computer. "Type 1 is usually diagnosed in childhood. Have you ever been tested for this before?" "Never," I replied. "My parents would have told me if something was wrong." She nodded slowly, but something flickered across her face. Concern, maybe, or suspicion. "I'm going to need your medical records from childhood. Do you know which pediatrician you saw?" I gave her the name of Dr. Walters, our family doctor back in Columbus, Ohio. The same doctor who had seen me from birth until I left for college at 18. The same doctor who played golf with my father every Sunday. 3 days later, I was sitting in my small apartment in downtown Chicago, insulin pens lined up on my kitchen counter like soldiers, when my phone rang. It was Dr. Richardson. "Emma, I need you to come to my office tomorrow. There's something we need to discuss about your medical records." The tone in her voice made my stomach drop. The next morning, I sat in her office again, but this time she wasn't alone. A hospital administrator was there, along with someone from the legal department. The atmosphere felt heavy, official. Dr. Richardson slid a file across the desk toward me. "Your childhood medical records from Dr. Walters." I opened the file with trembling hands. Page after page of test results, doctor's notes, observations. And there, dated when I was 8 years old, was a diagnosis: type 1 diabetes mellitus. My breath caught in my throat. 8 years old. 20 years ago. "There's more," Dr. Richardson said gently. She pointed to a note in the margin, handwritten by Dr. Walters. "Parents declining treatment. Requesting diagnosis be kept confidential." They signed a waiver. The room started spinning. My parents knew. For 20 years, they knew. I spent the rest of that day in a daze, the file clutched in my hands as I rode the train home. My phone buzzed constantly. Messages from my mother, asking about my weekend plans. A photo from my father of his new boat. Normal family stuff, except nothing about my family was normal. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my childhood. The times I'd felt sick, exhausted, different from other kids. My mother always had an excuse ready. "You're just a sensitive child," she'd say. "You need more rest." My father would dismiss it entirely. "Kids get tired. Stop babying her, Linda." But it wasn't just tiredness. I remembered being 10 years old, so thirsty I'd drink water until my stomach hurt. 11 years old, falling asleep in class despite going to bed early. 13, watching my friends run track while I sat on the sidelines, too weak to keep up. My mother insisting I just wasn't athletic. And the doctor visits. So many doctor visits where Dr. Walters would check me over, say everything was fine, and send us home. Now I understood why. He wasn't checking if I was sick. He was checking if I was still alive. I grabbed my phone and dialed my parents' number. It rang 4 times before my mother's cheerful voice answered. "Hi, sweetie. We were just talking about you." "Why?" I said, my voice shaking. "Why didn't you tell me?" There was a pause. "Tell you what, honey? That I have diabetes. That I've had it since I was 8 years old." The silence on the other end was deafening. I could hear my father in the background asking what was wrong. Then my mother's voice, harder now, defensive. We need to talk about this in person. No, I said. We talk about it now. My mother's sigh crackled through the phone line, heavy with something between guilt and irritation. Emma, you have to understand. We did what we thought was best. Best? My voice rose sharply. You let me walk around sick for 20 years. Do you have any idea what that's done to my body? I heard shuffling. Then my father's voice came on the line. He sounded tired but firm, the same tone he'd used when explaining why I couldn't have a dog or go to summer camp with my friends. The treatment was too expensive, Emma. We just bought the house. Your mother had quit her job. The insulin, the monitoring, the doctor visits, it would have bankrupted us. I stood up, pacing my small living room, my free hand pressed against my forehead. So you just decided to let me suffer? To risk my life? You were fine, my mother interjected, back on the line now. Dr. Walters said as long as we watched your diet, kept you calm, you'd be okay. And you were. You grew up healthy. Healthy? I'm in the hospital with organ damage, Mom. My kidneys are compromised. My vision is deteriorating. The doctor said another few months and I could have died. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. We were going to tell you, my father said finally. When you were older, when you had your own insurance. I'm 28 years old. I've had my own insurance for 6 years. My mother's voice turned cold. Well, you were always so independent. You moved to Chicago, barely called. How were we supposed to bring it up? The audacity of that statement hit me like a physical blow. I sank onto my couch, suddenly exhausted. I need to go, I whispered. Emma, wait, my father started, but I ended the call. Over the next week, the reality of my situation crystallized. Dr. Richardson explained that the years without treatment had caused significant damage. My kidneys were functioning at 60%. The constant high blood sugar had damaged the blood vessels in my eyes, causing the blurry vision that had brought me to the emergency room in the first place. I'd need aggressive treatment, possibly for the rest of my life, to manage complications that could have been avoided. My insurance covered most of it, but the copays, the specialists, the medications, they added up quickly. The irony wasn't lost on me. My parents had saved money by hiding my diagnosis, and now I was drowning in medical bills trying to undo the damage. My coworkers noticed the change in me. Sarah, my cubicle neighbor, found me crying in the bathroom one afternoon. What's wrong? She asked gently, handing me tissues, and I told her everything. The diagnosis, the betrayal, the realization that the two people who were supposed to protect me had chosen money over my health. That's horrible, Sarah breathed. What are you going to do? I didn't have an answer yet, but sitting there on the cold bathroom floor, something hardened inside me. I wasn't going to let this destroy me. 2 weeks after that conversation, I received a letter from a law firm in downtown Chicago. My hands shook as I opened it, convinced it was another medical bill. Instead, it was from an attorney named Marcus Chin, specializing in medical malpractice and negligence. Miss Harper, I read about your case through a colleague at the hospital. I believe you have grounds for legal action against both your parents and Dr. Walters. I'd like to discuss your options. I called the number immediately. Marcus Chun had a calm, professional voice that somehow made me feel less alone. He explained that what my parents had done, with Dr. Walters' cooperation, wasn't just morally wrong. It was legally actionable. They denied you necessary medical care as a minor, he said. That's medical neglect. And Dr. Walters violated his oath by participating in it. The damage to your health is documented, measurable. You have a case. I don't want their money, I said quietly. I just want them to acknowledge what they did. This isn't about money, Emma. This is about accountability. And frankly, you're going to need compensation for your ongoing medical care. The damage they caused will cost you for the rest of your life. That night, I made the hardest decision of my life. I agreed to pursue legal action. The news spread quickly. My parents called, furious. My father's voice boomed through the phone. You're going to sue your own parents? After everything we did for you? Everything you did for me? I shot back. You let me deteriorate for 20 years. You chose a boat and a vacation home over my health. My mother got on the line, crying. We're your family, Emma. How can you do this to us? But something had shifted in me. The guilt they were trying to weaponize no longer worked. You stopped being my family the moment you decided my life wasn't worth the cost of insulin. I hung up and blocked their numbers. If you're watching this and you've ever felt betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally, I want you to know you're not alone. Sometimes standing up for yourself means standing alone. And if this story is resonating with you, subscribe to this channel. Because what comes next, the fight I had to wage, it's going to show you that healing is possible even when everything feels broken. Marcus filed the lawsuit 3 weeks later. The local news picked it up. Woman sues parents for hiding life-threatening diagnosis. The story went viral in Columbus. My phone, with a new number, started getting messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Old classmates remembered me always being sick. Teachers recalled my parents' dismissing concerns. And then, the message that changed everything. It was from Dr. Walters' former nurse, Patricia Donovan. She'd worked at his practice for 15 years before retiring. I need to talk to you about your case. I have documents they don't know I kept. Meet me tomorrow. Patricia Donovan met me at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of Columbus. She was in her 60s, with silver hair and hands that trembled slightly as she slid a manila folder across the table. I should have done this years ago, she said, her voice thick with regret. But I was scared of losing my pension, my reputation. I'm retired now. None of that matters anymore. Inside the folder were copies of everything. Lab results showing my deteriorating blood sugar levels throughout childhood. Notes from my parents explicitly instructing Dr. Walters not to treat me. And most damning of all, financial records showing my father had paid Dr. Walters an extra $500 per visit to keep quiet. It wasn't just negligence. It was a calculated conspiracy. There's more, Patricia whispered. You weren't the only one. There were 3 other families who did the same thing. 2 of those kids didn't make it to adulthood. My blood ran cold. Children had died because parents prioritized money over medicine, and Dr. Walters had let it happen. Marcus Chen's eyes lit up when I showed him the documents. This changes everything. We're not just talking about a negligence case anymore. This is criminal. The next few months became a blur of depositions, court hearings, and media attention. My parents hired an expensive legal team, painting themselves as loving parents who'd made a difficult financial decision during hard times. Their lawyers stood in court arguing that they'd kept me alive, that I'd survived to adulthood, that the outcome proved their choices weren't fatal. But Marcus was relentless. He brought in medical experts who testified about the permanent damage to my organs. He presented the documents Patricia had provided. And then he did something brilliant. He found the families of the 2 children who hadn't survived. Jennifer Martinez would have been 32 years old, Marcus said, holding up a photo of a smiling 10-year-old girl. She died of diabetic ketoacidosis at age 14. Her parents, like Emma's, chose not to treat her diabetes. Dr. Walters knew. He documented it. He said nothing. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of Jennifer's mother crying in the gallery. Ryan Patterson died at 16, Marcus continued. Same story, same doctor, same choice. How many children have to die before we call this what it is? Murder by financial calculation. My father's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. The jury's faces told the story. This wasn't about one family's mistake anymore. This was about a pattern of deadly negligence. When the verdict came back, I was sitting between Marcus and Sarah, who'd taken the day off work to support me. The 4 women stood. We find in favor of the plaintiff on all counts. The monetary award was substantial, but that wasn't what made me break down crying. It was the jury's recommendation for criminal charges against Dr. Walters. It was the validation that what happened to me was wrong. Unforgivably, criminally wrong. The weeks following the verdict felt surreal. Dr. Walters was arrested and charged with multiple counts of medical negligence and conspiracy to endanger minors. His medical license was revoked immediately. The news coverage was relentless, and suddenly I wasn't just Emma Harper anymore. I was the face of a movement, a symbol for medical transparency and children's rights. My parents lost everything in the lawsuit. The vacation home, the boat, their retirement savings. But more than that, they lost their reputation in Columbus. Their friends stopped calling. Their country club membership was quietly revoked. My father's business partners distanced themselves from the scandal. They tried to reach out through my aunt, my father's sister, who'd always been kind to me. She called me one evening, her voice hesitant. "Emma, they're destroyed. Your mother hasn't left the house in weeks. Your father looks like he's aged 10 years. They know they were wrong." I sat in silence for a moment, watching the Chicago skyline through my apartment window. The city lights twinkled like stars, indifferent to human suffering and redemption alike. "Good," I said finally. "Maybe now they understand what it feels like to have your life stolen from you." But Aunt Carol persisted. "They want to apologize. Really apologize. They're in therapy trying to understand why they made those choices." Something in her voice made me pause. This wasn't about reconciliation for them. This was about me. About whether I could live with the weight of complete estrangement. "I'll think about it," I told her. The truth was, the anger that had sustained me through the trial was beginning to fade, leaving behind something more complicated. Grief, maybe, for the childhood I should have had. For the parents who chose wrong when they should have chosen me. 3 months after the verdict, I agreed to meet them. Not at their house, not at mine, but at a neutral therapist's office in Cincinnati. Dr. Monroe, a family counselor who specialized in reconciliation after trauma. My mother looked smaller than I remembered. Her hair grayer, her shoulders hunched. My father couldn't meet my eyes. We sat in uncomfortable silence until Dr. Monroe gently prompted them. My mother spoke first, her voice breaking. "There's nothing we can say that will make this right." We told ourselves we were protecting our financial future, protecting our family. But we were protecting ourselves at your expense. You were a child. You trusted us. And we failed you in the worst possible way. My father finally looked up, tears streaming down his face. "I think about all those times you were sick, and we told you it was normal. I see your face now, and I know we stole years from you. Healthy years. We can never give those back." I didn't forgive them that day. Dr. Monroe explained that forgiveness wasn't required for healing. But I did something I didn't expect. I acknowledged their apology. I told them I was moving forward with my life, with or without them in it, and that if they wanted any chance at rebuilding something, it would take years of proving they'd changed. It was the beginning of a very long, uncertain road. 3 years have passed since that day in Dr. Monroe's office. I'm 31 now, and my life looks nothing like I imagined it would back when I was collapsing in that emergency room. The settlement money allowed me to get the best medical care available. My kidney function has stabilized. The vision problems were caught in time to prevent permanent blindness. I have a continuous glucose monitor now, a small device on my arm that tracks my blood sugar in real time. The technology that could have saved me so much suffering as a child is now part of my daily routine. I left the accounting firm and went back to school, getting certified as a patient advocate. Now I work with families navigating complex medical diagnoses, helping them understand their rights, their options, and most importantly, making sure children get the care they need regardless of cost. I've helped connect dozens of families with financial assistance programs, charitable organizations, and legal resources. Last month, I testified before the Illinois State Legislature about a bill requiring mandatory reporting when parents refuse necessary medical treatment for their children. Passed unanimously. Jennifer Martinez and Ryan Patterson's names are on that bill. Their deaths finally meant something. As for my parents, we're not close. We probably never will be. But we have something now that we didn't have before. Honesty. They come to Chicago twice a year. We have dinner. We talk carefully around the painful subjects. But sometimes, in small moments, I see genuine remorse. My mother volunteers now at a diabetes awareness organization. My father donated money to a fund that helps low-income families afford insulin. It doesn't erase what they did, but it's something. I met someone too. His name is David, and he's a nurse at the hospital where Dr. Richardson works. He knows my whole story and loves me anyway, damaged kidneys and all. He checks my glucose levels with the same care I imagine parents should show their children. He's teaching me what unconditional love actually looks like. Patricia Donovan and I have coffee every few months. She carries guilt that I keep telling her isn't hers to carry. But I understand it. Sometimes doing the right thing late is better than never doing it at all. Dr. Walters died in prison last year. Heart attack. I felt nothing when I heard. Not satisfaction, not grief. Just a distant sense of closure. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you. Truly. Thank you for witnessing what happened to me. For caring about the little girl who deserved better and the woman she fought to become. If this resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment telling me what topics you'd like to see covered next. Stories of survival, of standing up against impossible odds, of finding yourself when everything falls apart. And if you're living through your own betrayal right now, know this: you are worth fighting for. Your health matters. Your truth matters. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Not even family.